And I got this shirt for nothing. Hey guys, it's Morgchothra. Sorry I haven't been able to upload videos every Wednesday because life. But I did want to do the Last Jedi movie review, just because it's such an anticipated movie and I was really excited for it. And overall, I felt very torn about this movie. So first off, we see the rebels leaving their base because the First Order has found them, is destroying their base, so they're escaping. And Poe is trying to stall, take out a dreadnought, or at least take out the dreadnought bombs. And when he sees that he does have the chance to take out a dreadnought, he goes against General Organa's orders and goes ahead and tries to take it out. I did like this whole first sequence a lot, just because not only did we get to see that Poe has a flaw, because he seems so perfect in the Force Awakens. We get to see this flaw in him, that he has a little bit of an authority issue. So that's the first hint of that in the movie. And I love the opening sequence. It's very high stakes. The first moment that I began to think this is going to be different than the other Star Wars movies is when we see Rose's sister Paige. We don't know who she is at the time, but we see that she's the last bomber that could take out this dreadnought. She's been injured, and it's like almost this side story or short story that's very cinematic and modern. And you'll see in other Star Wars films, you don't really have that in there. So that's the first thing that made me feel like The Last Jedi was going to be different than the other Star Wars movies. Now, I'm one of those people that absolutely love The Force Awakens. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy the fact that it was pretty much a parallel movie to A New Hope, but I felt like that was the perfect way of segueing into these new characters. A big theme in the Last Jedi movie is let the past die, and I feel like this was Rian Johnson's way of really making the people who were holding on to the original Star Wars movies to realize that it's time for these new characters to take on their own story, and that it's not about Luke, Han, or Leia anymore. Rose's sister's character giving her life away. Typically, I don't enjoy that in movies. I don't enjoy them giving this sounds terrible. I don't enjoy them giving screen time to people who I don't know, and then they die, and it's supposed to be this big heroic thing, and I'm supposed to be like, oh man, they died, they gave their life. But if I don't know them, I don't care. That was my big issue with Rogue One. Is I'm sure if you're watching this video, you have seen Rogue One. They all die at the end, and I didn't feel like I knew any of those characters. Jyn, I didn't know anything about her, but besides the fact that she, had daddy issues. Which all Star Wars characters do, but it just felt so forced to me, all of it, that I didn't really enjoy the Rogue One until Darth Vader made his scene. And I kind of had that hint of, oh no, they're going to start doing things like this in The Last Jedi, but we'll see where it goes. So anyways, Rose's sister dies, they take out the dreadnought, Poe comes back, General Organa demotes him, and we get to see that he has this huge character flaw and has an authority issue, and he's pretty haughty, thinks he's hot stuff and the best pilot ever, which he is, but I really do like that we got to see that side of him. Then we get into what Finn's been up to, which he's been knocked out. He wakes up. I loved Finn in The Force Awakens. I really just kind of fell in love with his character. I love the fact that he was a stormtrooper and is pretty much probably the first stormtrooper to have gone against his conditioning and to escape out into the real world. I love that. And I just love how positive he is, and he's just naturally funny. So he's there with Poe and Leia, and he sees that since the First Order can now track them through hyperspace, so Finn's like, this is not good, like I'm gonna run again, which is like kind of his thing. Like Maz said in The Force Awakens, he just runs away from everything, and that's how he meets Rose. I really like that they added Rose to the story. It was cool to see an engineer on the Rebel base and just see how things, like what happened to her sister, happen on a daily basis probably with these rebels, and it kind of makes the story seem bigger. You really don't get to see that in other Star Wars films, which is the impact of the collateral damage that happens from all of the First Order Empire attacks. So I did like that, but that being said, I didn't feel like her character was absolutely necessary. I felt like what I was wanting and expecting, since I liked Finn so much and still do, I was kind of hoping he would have his own kind of solo storyline, kind of like how Rey was having. So to see that he was going to be doing outward fighting instead of inward, that kind of bothered me a little bit. Like right at the get-go, I was kind of like, well, oh well. Then we finally get to go to the iconic scene of Rey and Luke on the mountaintop, and she's still holding out Luke's lightsaber to him. He hesitantly takes it and he throws it. I know a lot of people were mad about that. I thought it was kind of funny. Let the past die. I know that was one of Rian Johnson's main message with this is, we have these new characters that the story's about them now, and even though the people who are coming to see these movies are the people who fell in love with Han and Leia and Luke, but I think this was this director's way of saying it's not about them anymore. They are pieces in these new protagonists' stories. And so for Luke to throw the lightsaber like that, I know people got really mad at that, but I thought it was kind of funny. And then him being an unwilling teacher to Rey, I felt like it felt very authentic. I felt like it made sense. Obi-Wan had become a recluse in A New Hope and was a hesitant trainer of Luke after what happened to Darth Vader, so I felt like it made sense for Luke to become that way. Another thing I really liked was both of the scenes with Snoke. I really enjoyed. The first one, it just looked incredible. It just visually stunning. That red room, and he's sitting on his throne in that golden robe thing, and we have to see how powerful he was. With Kylo Ren, he kind of loses his temper and tries to attack Snoke, and Snoke literally just goes like this. He literally just goes like with his hand, and Kylo Ren is like shot back with lightning. And so I thought that was really cool. I'm like, yeah, Snoke, he's gonna be hard to beat, which is kind of funny to say because of course we find out what happens with him, which I enjoyed that scene too, but we'll get to that later. Another thing I really liked, just trying to go chronologically here, is I call it space phone calls, is all of the scenes with Rey and Kylo Ren when they weren't in the same place, but supposedly Snoke had connected them or bridged their minds to bring Rey to Snoke. I just really liked it. I was freaking out in the theater the first time I saw it. I've seen the movie 3 times now, but the first time I saw it, I was absolutely freaking out. I turned to my sister. I was like, "Why are they connected? Why are they connected?" And I just really liked it. My sister said that it felt fan fiction-y to her, which I agree with her. It did. They had a really intimate scene the last time they had their space phone call. Is whenever Rey was in that really vulnerable place of just coming out of that mirror scene, which I need to talk about that. She just came out of that place. She was really vulnerable. She's like wrapped up in a blanket. She's like, I just felt so alone. And you're expecting her to be talking to Luke, and they show Kylo Ren sitting there, like looking like he has tears in his eyes. And I was like, I'm done with this. I loved it. And so they have this really intimate moment where their fingers touch. Luke sees this and he blows the lid off the place. He's so angry. The next thing that was probably the most enjoyable scene for me was the second Snoke scene with Kylo Ren and Rey defeating all of those guards and Kylo Ren killing Snoke. I thought that was awesome at the time, but afterwards I was like, I kind of had wished we had seen more of Snoke just because he was so powerful, but I'm fine with him being defeated at the same time too. If that means that Kylo Ren is the leader of the First Order. The only thing that didn't fit with that to me was that he doesn't seem strong enough at this point to lead the First Order. He doesn't seem threatening enough, especially after all of those vulnerable, tender scenes with him and Rey. And with him like deciding not, I mean, I'm glad he didn't, but deciding not to kill General Organa, his mom Leia. It just made him seem too normal almost. Whereas, you know, these Sith Lords and Darth Vader, they're supposed to be so evil that you can't even relate to them. And here you are feeling for Kylo Ren because he's obviously like fighting this inner battle, which I absolutely love that. But for him to be the leader of the First Order, it just doesn't really, I don't know, it didn't really compute to me. But at the same time, I was fine with it. So there's that scene with him and Rey. Snoke has Rey frozen, and he's like, complete your training, which is what he said. I thought he said that in The Force Awakens, to tell Kylo Ren to kill his father to complete his training. Maybe that's just a lie that they say to keep telling them, you know, you'll be complete when you do this, and it's just like this endless rabbit trail of things. So Kylo Ren catches Snoke in his hubris, and Snoke is defeated. It was really cool. And then they just slow motion, like, look at each other and turn their backs to each other and just, like, take out all those guards in that room. It was so good. Probably my favorite scene in any Star Wars movie ever. So I really enjoyed that. I really like that they included that. Yoda made an appearance. Again, I was fighting against this feeling that it was very forced. Let me put Yoda in here so everything will be, like, great. So I had to ask myself, you know, as someone who takes film very seriously and stories very seriously, did this fit in with the plot? Was this necessary? Yoda being there. And I don't know that it was for Luke, especially since Ryan's message was let the past die. Luke was about to set fire to the Jedi Temple, which if he had not, it wouldn't have made a difference. You know, it wasn't pertinent to anything except for himself. It was okay. I'm not mad at it. But at the same time, I felt like it was forced. That's just me. This is my opinion. Again, I told you people that I was very torn about this movie. So it's like everything I liked, there's something I didn't like about it. I'm a big character development person, and I kind of hinted at that when I said I didn't care when all of the characters in Rogue One died because I didn't know them. I didn't know what they had overcome. That's what character development is for me. So for Finn, I was really expecting a lot out of him in this movie, and some really big character development, and I didn't realize it till the second time I saw it, but he did change in the fact that he stopped running away from the First Order at the end when he was about to basically commit suicide to save his friends. But at the same time, it didn't make sense for him to make that decision, seeing as no event in The Last Jedi could have changed his mind about that, except for if he somehow gained courage by what Rose's sister did, and the amount of love and respect Rose had for her sister. But that conversation never happened. You see a lot of Finn being like, oh, sympathetic to Rose, but nothing ever like, oh, I've been like changed, I've been inspired by that story. I didn't really see that. So to have him just have this change of heart of not running away, I completely missed that he had made that decision the first time I saw it. So in my head, I was like, man, Finn is the same character as he was in The Force Awakens. Like, he had no character development. I was really upset about that. He did stop running away. It wasn't warranted, but who knows. And then also, I was really, really hoping that Phasma was going to not only survive this movie, but have a really epic fight scene. We get to see her for what feels like 30 seconds, and Finn takes her out. I'm not complaining about the fact that he takes her out, but I'm complaining about how short that was. And I guess I was expecting like this, like the battles that happen in the prequels, they're just like so long that whenever it's over, it feels like it means something. Maybe they're too long, but these ones were too short. I'm sorry, they were just too short. And then the scene with Kylo Ren and Luke at the end, I think was underwhelming for all of us, because we did want that big Luke has returned scene, and it just didn't happen. We did get to see how powerful he had become when we find out that he was projecting his image there, and that effort does kill him, as Kylo Ren kind of foreshadowed with Rey. That effort killed him, but he was strong enough to be there for that long. And so I think a lot of us were underwhelmed by the fact that there wasn't this huge fight scene like there was in The Force Awakens Force Awakens with Rey and Kylo Ren. I absolutely love that scene in the forest with them, and I felt like I got it again in Snoke's throne room, but I didn't feel like I got it from Luke, which I feel like that was a major letdown for a lot of people. For myself, it was just a little bit of a letdown, not to the point where I would say I didn't like the movie, but again, I felt like I had been disappointed by yet another thing. And I just have to throw this in here. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm just going to mention that I am all for Finn Rey, and you just can't deny the chemistry that they had in the first movie, so they need to be together. And so that made me a little bit mad, even though I just want to make it clear I really like Rose. I really like Rose. I like the actress that played Rose, but I don't want Finn to end up with Rose. I just don't want it. I want him to end up with Finn. I want him to end up with Rey. I just think they're so cute. They get on really well. They have this amazing chemistry that I just love. It just seems so seamless in The Force Awakens. I didn't feel that with anyone except for Kylo Ren and Rey in this second one. So I really don't want them to end up together. I'm just going to put that out there. So I was mad that Rose kissed Finn. I was so mad at that. So she kisses him and she like gets knocked out. I'm like, oh, did she die? Like, almost kind of happy that she wasn't going to be a threat to their relationship, but she lives, which is fine. I feel like I'm a horrible person for seeming to be against Rose, but I'm really glad they put her in the movie. So at the end of my review, I wrote that I give the film 7 out of 10 stars. If I could have given Force Awakens stars, I would have given them a 10 out of 10. I still feel very torn. And I think I joined the majority of fans who felt disappointed. I don't hate the movie at all. I actually really enjoyed watching it, but when I saw it with my roommate, she was seeing it for the first time, I was seeing it for the third. The first thing she said at the end of it was, "I'm mad and I don't know why." And I was like, you put the words right into my mouth. That's exactly how I felt when I first saw it. I was angry, but I didn't know why. And so this whole video and review is me trying to figure out why I felt like that. There for me was just a certain something missing that I couldn't put my finger on it. So if anyone has any ideas or clues as to what that is, I tried to cover it. Maybe it was just all those little things that disappointed me along the way. But overall, I still gave the film a score that says it's worth seeing and it was well done. I think a lot of it just came down to personal preference of the things I didn't like. So let me know what you guys think. I know everybody's different. Everybody has different opinions, which they're entitled to. And it's just fun to discuss these things that, don't matter at all, but we take really seriously. Let me know what you think about The Last Jedi, and I'll see you on my next movie review. Morgchothra out.